Good morning. This is Kevin Guillory with the Lead Center. Thanking you for joining us for another episode of Dreams to Reality. Broadcasting live at the Lead Center. Broadcasting live from the Lead Center, 537 Cajun Dome Boulevard on a beautiful Tuesday morning. Today's guest is my friend, Dr. Ryan Cazares, owner of Scott Eye Care in Scott, Louisiana. His name is not Dr. Scott, contrary to what all the junk mail that comes to his office says. Also, very involved in the community. That's how we really got to know each other, through community organizations, as well as founder of, is it Mybrary?
Yeah, Mybrary.
Mybrary Musical Instrument Library, housed at the Lafayette Public Library. Thank you for joining us, Ryan.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. So Ryan is a alum of UL Lafayette, right? Got your undergrad in what?
It was 2007.
Okay, what you majored in?
It was biology.
Biology. Whew. Okay, so you had like a real major.
Yeah, minor in chemistry.
Oh Lord. So if that wasn't enough, after that you went to the University of Houston for our optometry school. University of Houston this week is very dear to our hearts here at the university. Our new basketball coach was hired yesterday. Had a press conference yesterday. He's actually an assistant at the University of Houston, which is in the NCAA tournament, and that's my pick to win the national championship this year. So if that happens, you can always come back to this video and know that I called it. So awesome. So tell us, Ryan, why did you want to become an eye doctor?
Man, I mean, people ask me that all the time, and they expect me to say, I have some kind of crazy eye disease or something like that, But no, I mean, ever since I needed glasses, probably in I want to say 6th or 7th grade, I was just kind of interested in that field. And then, actually in high school, I wanted to major in art. But my biology teacher, took me aside and he's like, "Hey, you're really good at this. Like, you really should consider, something like medicine or something like that." And at that time, I was like, "No way." Like you're rebellious in high school. But as I got to college, I was like, "Well, I want to, like, I don't want to struggle." You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to have job security, and so I always thought I could go this path down optometry, and I could always do art on the side. And so I worked for some optometrists while I was in college, and it was great. And that's the path I ended up going down. So it's not like this amazing story or anything, but it worked out great for me. So
did you only have one major in college?
Yeah, it's just
so you got here, you knew what you wanted to do.
Oh, like no, I didn't switch. Yeah, I started in biology and just I cruised through it. Yeah.
That's amazing. The fact that you knew what you wanted to do when you got to college.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so fast forward, 2011 is when you got your optometry degree.
Yeah, so doctor of optometry, 2011, after 4 years at University of Houston.
So you did 4 years at UL and 4 years over there.
That's correct.
Okay, so now you're on your own eye company. What you call it?
Eye clinic.
Eye clinic, yes. In Scott, Louisiana, in the big metropolis of Scott.
Yep.
So why Scott?
Well, I'm from Scott. It's about 8 or 9,000 people, never had an eye doctor. But also there's surrounding communities that have a need. So, Dusson, Kington, Crowley, Rain, all of those places are underserved. So it made perfect sense to open in my hometown, and we got busy pretty quick. So it was a good decision for sure.
So I don't think a lot of people think about that kind of service when it comes to being underserved. There's not a lot of eye clinics in rural areas, so that means they would have to come all the way to Lafayette, or things like that. So as a doctor of optometry, you're already in Houston. You're already in the fourth largest city in the country. You could have just went and worked at an optometrist's office in Katy or the Woodlands and made a good living and just cruised through life. So why did you decide to open up your own business?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, I'm close to my family, so I wanted to be back home here. And you know, it's in markets like Houston is like very saturated, it's very competitive. Here in Louisiana, which is pretty unique and very cool, is like we all work together. Like, you know, if someone lives in Breaux Bridge, I'm not gonna tell them to come like, oh, come see me for your eyes. Like, there's someone in Breaux Bridge, there's Dr. Garrett Thibodeau, go see him. You know, we're all cool with each other. We actually, you know, some of us specialize in certain areas, so we'll refer to each other. There's a big camaraderie in my profession. But yeah, no, I think at the end of the day, I wanted to work for myself. I wanted to, you know, own something, you know, later on when I'm, you know, retiring, I can sell it, you know. So it just made sense to go that route. So,
and I saw that you were at was it a grand opening for a clinic in Youngsville?
Yeah, so Maison Optique opened. You know, they've been open for a long time. They were on Ambassador, you know, where like the Sky Zone is. They were in that little shopping center. Dr. Jeff Boudreau built his own building and opened on. He's on. Let's see. Camellia now. So he's actually in Lafayette. Between Collies and Vera.
So by like the Rouses and all that.
Exactly. Yeah. Right by Rouses. Yeah.
So I found that to be pretty cool because a lot of times when you work with small business owners, they think of competition. And working with our people, you know, they go through our accelerate programs. We always talk about collaboration because if you're a baker, you can't bake cakes for everybody in Lafayette. You know, so even if you're in Scott and you've got 9,000 people, that's 18,000 eyes. That's a lot of eyes for one person.
That's a good way to look at it.
Then you add all the people in Lafayette. You know, 124,000 has whatever 248,000 eyes, and it's like you can't possibly see everybody. So that collaboration is awesome because you refer people to somebody and they refer people to someone else. So full disclosure, I do go see you. I've been going to you for, 4 years now? 4 or 5? No, probably longer than that. My dentist is also in Scott, Dr. Price. So I like to go to Scott to make sure I can see and that I got a good smile. And then sometimes go to Piggly Wiggly. So, so what's the difference between a locally owned clinic and, you know, the chains that you find in strip centers or on the corner of Ambassador and Johnston?
Okay. So, you know, I don't like to talk, you know, bad about them because there are some perfectly qualified doctors that work there. They go through the same training. We all go through the same training. But, you know, as far as the corporate side of it, you know, they're more about pushing, you know, the selling of eyewear and, you know, seeing as many people as possible. You know, I prefer to, you know, sympathize with my patients, you know, really understand what they're going through and really like to have honest conversations with them and take my time. So I guess that's, you know, really the main difference is, you know, we like to say we offer, you know, very personable, hospitable care, and not that they don't. It's just different. You know, the goal in mind, you know, is to you know, keep the patient healthy, help them see better, not just sell, you know. So that's just how I feel about it. So
I went to a dentist office one time in Lafayette because before we went to Price and Associates, we were just trying to find a dentist that my family can go to. And so we went to one that's a chain. And I was in the dental chair and they were doing the cleaning and they were like, oh, you need this, whatever. And it's not covered by insurance. It's like $39. And I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. They pulled out a credit card reader from under the chair.
Oh, wow.
And I swiped my credit card while I was in the dental chair.
Did you have like that thing in your mouth?
Yeah, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm finding somewhere else. But it was so like, you can't wait till we're done to get my payment. So as far as, there's a lot of challenges with, in the healthcare industry and things are growing and all of that. How has technology helped your business grow, even though, you're one clinic? How has technology,
Yeah, so that's, something I've leveraged over the years to kind of separate myself from the competition. Again, we don't really compete, but hey, I do want people to come see me. So
yeah,
a lot of times people will choose to come see us simply because we offer online scheduling, and that's really, just plugging a code on your website. That's really easy to do.
I do appreciate that, and getting the reminder that it's time to get my eye exam. Yeah.
And so, and we also have pretty cool technology at the clinic. We can take very detailed photos of the inside and the outside of the eyes. We have diagnostic equipment to track and manage diagnosed glaucoma and things like that. So a lot of times, patients, even though like my exam chairs and the click, it's called a phoropter, even though those are like from 1910, all the rest of my equipment is the purpose is to kind of deliver a wow factor, and a lot of patients really appreciate that.
So I have, so I got you got glasses in 6th, 7th grade.
Yeah, around that time.
So you at least you went through elementary. I got glasses in 3rd grade.
Okay.
And one of the biggest childhood traumas I have is going into the doctor's office and looking at the little hole and looking at either the hot air balloon or the house, and then getting like 50 psi of air shot straight into my eyeball. So you don't do that anymore, right?
No, I'm not a fan. So that's called a non-contact tonometer, and that measures, the pressure inside your eye.
Well,
which is like a glaucoma screener. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's important to get that, but the fact that like it, no matter how prepared you are for that, it's gonna traumatize you. There's other ways to do it.
Okay.
And I've never invested in the air puff test.
Because I remember the first time I went to see you, I was and the tech was like, okay, sit here and then look into this thing, and I'm like, she's like, you can relax, it's not gonna shoot air. And I didn't believe her. I was like, you telling me the truth?
Oh man, you thought she was commenting.
She was like, you can open your eyes. I'm like, it's like taking the punch from Mike Tyson, even though you're like standing there, like, hey, you're about to get punched.
No, so, I mean, you can be mentally prepared.
Yeah,
you're still gonna jump, but
I'm glad
we
you don't do that.
We have a eye care tonometer. It just uses this little tiny probe to measure the pressure, and then if we suspect glaucoma, we do it the scientific way in the exam room. So it's there's no air puff. No.
How many people do you have on staff?
Right now I have it's me and I have an associate, and then I have 7 staff. So a total of 9 people. We are bursting at the seams. I need to move out.
But is the suite next to you still empty?
No, it's a jiu-jitsu place, and they're doing well. You can. What's cool is you can go to the shopping center I'm in. You can get groceries. You can get your eyes checked. You can learn to fight somebody.
Yep. So owning a business and having staff, I know you invest a lot in your staff. There's a lot of, talk about like if you're on the business, how staffing, and sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's not. But I know that you treat your staff well. I see that you do like outings and you do like retreats and things like that. Um, and we were talking yesterday about the snowstorm that happened in January. And you were like, yeah, we were closed for 2 days. I still had to pay my staff. And I was like, did you have to pay them or did you choose to pay them? Because to me, that's a very big distinction of choosing to pay your staff when they're not working, because, missing 1 or 2 days of work can be detrimental to a lot of people, especially when eggs cost like $10 a dozen and all of that. So
Yeah.
what has been one of the biggest things that you've learned about leading people on staff?
Yeah, I mean, if you invest in your staff, and more importantly, if you empower them, they will stick around. So
Mm-hmm.
I think, what kind of tells that story is, I have 3 staff right now, Paige, Brittany, and Kristen. They all left for, better paying jobs and came back.
Really?
Which is,
Mm-hmm.
a tale of the environment we've built over the years. So recently, like you said, eggs and everything have gone up. So I've actually got with Lita across the street, and last year, and compared what they were being paid to the similar position in the Lafayette area, and last year I matched that, and so I fully believe investing in them really, in the end, results in the best patient experience, and people talk about that and tell their friends, and I'm really proud of that work culture that we built.
You got what, 4.9 stars on Google? Are you at 5?
I'm at 5 on Google.
Okay.
I want to say like Facebook's like 96% or something like that. I don't know, but it's we have a little automated system that sends people after an appointment, and they happily leave reviews, and we've been blessed to get some good reviews. So
was it hard so when you first started, did you do everything, or did you have somebody helping you when you first started? Like, did you schedule the appointments? Did you do all the billing? And did you see the patient? Were you like,
yeah,
I'm here as soon as you walk in, you sit behind the desk, good morning, you're here for your appointment?
Yeah.
And say, the doctor will see you soon, and put your coat on. And
Oof, yeah, change clothes. Yeah, no, my manager Beth, she started with me, almost 13 years ago now, and almost 12 years ago now, and so I had her, and I had an optician when we started, and so I had a little bit of help. Thankfully, the optician had experience, because I love to see and deal with the eyes. I'm not the best salesperson. I'm not the best. I'm not good with glasses, but so I had some help when we first opened, and as you get busier, and as you're wanting to grow your business, you learn that you need to focus on what brings money into the clinic, and if someone can spend their time doing administrative tasks that would take away or would cost money for you to do, you learn to outsource that pretty quick. And so, as soon as we were able to, I was getting someone to do the books. I'm not QuickBooks literate, okay? So I didn't learn anything about QuickBooks until I had to. And then you outsource insurance billing and coding and all that stuff. And, it's nice to be able to do that, to really focus on, being a doctor and seeing patients, and But yeah, in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
and it is valuable to kind of learn how to do a little bit of everything,
Yeah.
because then you know what's all involved, and
Mm-hmm.
then you know who to hire
Yeah. Yeah.
for that thing.
Mm-hmm.
So
How was it? Was it, so as you built your stuff, was there, like, how do you do with trust? Because the clinic's open right now, right? And you're
yeah,
here.
yeah, I'm here.
So
Sorry, guys.
this thing that you worked for
uh,
is in the hands of other people.
yeah.
How do you deal with that? And was it a process of learning how to trust people and say, oh, I don't have to be at the clinic from open to
Mhm.
close?
Yeah, so I've read a lot of books, and I think the one book that sticks with me the most is the E Myth.
Oh yeah, I
And
love that book.
he talks about building systems to
Mm-hmm.
where if you're not at your place of business and it's still able to operate,
Mm-hmm.
that's the ultimate goal. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's a little different in that
Mm-hmm.
I have to be there to see patients to
Yeah.
to generate some revenue, but I do have an associate, so
Mm-hmm.
we can step out when we need to.
Yeah.
And for things like this, I'm happy to do things like this. It's
Mm-hmm.
fun, and yeah. But yeah, you have to have people on your team that you trust and that are leaders. And
Mm-hmm.
so, my manager is a great leader. My associate's a great leader. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I involve them as if they're part owners, because
Yeah.
um, they have different insights and they have
Mm-hmm.
different personalities, and
Yeah.
it's valuable to run ideas through them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's great having them on board. But yeah, you definitely need to have some leaders
Mm-hmm.
beside yourself on board for
Yeah.
sure.
So I want to talk about eyeglasses, actual physical
Yeah.
eyeglasses. Um, I was watching Shark Tank, and they had somebody there who pitched an idea. I think it might have been Shades or something like that. And they brought up the fact that only how many companies make all of the eyeglasses? Is it just one that
So
makes up like 90% of the glasses
yeah, and
on
so
the market?
unfortunately, that's why glasses are pretty expensive. Is
Mm-hmm.
there's a company called Luxottica,
Mm-hmm.
and they do some kind of some shady stuff. They own Lens Crafters. They own Sunglass Hut, but yeah, they own a lot of popular frame lines. Ray-Ban, Oakley, all of those.
Mm-hmm.
But the really fishy thing they do is they have their own insurance plan,
Mm.
IMED, and so
Oh yeah,
what
yeah.
they try to do is if an employer offers IMED,
Mm-hmm.
they try to incentivize those people to go to the clinics they own and buy the
Yeah.
frame line they own.
Yeah.
And so it's this huge
So
monopoly.
they're in every part of the supply chain,
Yeah, it's
basically.
this huge monopoly, and it stinks because they kind of made eyewear unaffordable,
Mm-hmm.
and there are these new disruptors in the game, like Zenny and Warby Parker, and
Mm-hmm.
they're really not even. I mean, I'm not sure about Zenny, but last I heard, Warby Parker's not even like a profitable
Yeah.
company. They're
Mm-hmm.
just very heavily invested in, so they
Yeah.
can
They
sell
can
their
do.
glasses for cheaper,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it kind of stinks being in the middle of both of those.
Mm-hmm.
Super cheap glasses, super expensive glasses.
Mm-hmm.
But we have to learn to navigate through that. We have to learn to adapt as
Mm-hmm.
not just eye clinic owners but business owners. We
Mm-hmm.
all have to learn to adapt because the market constantly changes. There's new inventions, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you just have to adapt. So
Yeah. Interesting. That's so
yeah,
crazy that they own the entire
yeah, yeah,
ecosystem of glasses.
right, right.
All right. So switching to community work, you left and came back to Scott. I lived in Texas for 5 years after being at UL and growing up in Lake Charles. Um, my colleague Jonathan moved away to Oklahoma, Texas, and all of that. I'm very much a proponent of, I was thinking about this morning, of like a cultural exchange program where
Yeah.
you gotta leave your hometown at least for 2 years and go somewhere else. So how did leaving and coming back change your view of Acadiana, or how did it help you to want to be involved in the community?
So, Houston wasn't really for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge,
Mm-hmm.
and I love more of a pedestrian friendly type of city.
Mm-hmm.
And Houston has its areas that are pedestrian friendly, but um, you uh, leaving and living in Houston for a while, I did my last year of school.
Mm-hmm.
You actually work at different clinics your
Mm-hmm.
last year of school, and so I did all of mine in Dallas, and I felt like Dallas was, it was a big city, but it's a lot smaller and more compact than
Mm-hmm.
Houston. It's very pedestrian friendly, at least where I lived.
Yeah.
Everything was in its own little area, um, and so, but I mean, you know, growing up, here, um, for the first time, I missed Cajun music, I missed Zydeco music, I
Mm-hmm.
missed the warm friendliness that everyone has here.
Yeah.
Um, and so it went both ways. When I moved back, it was like, I was glad to, I finally appreciated the culture we have here when I moved away,
Mm-hmm.
but I also saw where we were lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And, to this day, um, feel like, that it's so hard to get around this city.
Mm-hmm.
To I'd really like to bike to Moncus Park, but that just doesn't feel
Yeah.
safe. You know
No,
what I mean?
we'll have a
So
cross on side
hopefully,
the road for you.
yeah, hopefully we can evolve and be more um, pedestrian friendly eventually. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it kind of goes both ways. You appreciate where you come from when you're removed from it, and
Mm-hmm.
then you can also see what other cities do better
Yeah.
than yours. So yeah.
I remember, like, whenever I would go to Houston, we enjoyed going to the Woodlands and Sugarland and all of that. And what I realized is that we are seeing the fruits. We are reaping when we go to places that's like established and they have all these things in place, we're reaping the fruits of labor from the people from the past. Like,
Mhm.
we're seeing the end result. We're not seeing everything that goes into getting it done. It's like, oh, this place has a lot of bike lanes. Well, who fought for that? And
Right,
like
sure,
who went to the council meetings and all of that. And so
sure.
when you see the end product, it's easy to say, oh, look at them. They did
Mm,
this. And so for me, it was a lot of my first few years back in Lafayette. Like, I was ready to go back to Texas. I wanted to move back. But there became a switch when I started working for the Lee Center and enjoyed the work that I do. But now I can go somewhere else and see what they do and appreciate it, but also say, how can we do something similar to, what they do there, and like University of Houston is a great example. Like, I love the University of Houston because of how much they've grown over the past 20 years and, going not just in sports, going from the Conference USA to the Athletic, the American Conference now to the Big 12 and dominating the Big 12 in basketball, but also from a student perspective
mhm.
because they have three flagships. They got Texas A&M, University of Texas, and Texas Tech in Texas. And so University of Houston said, okay, we want to be a tier one institution as well. So we're doing that. And so I look at them and like get motivation for here at UL. They have the number one uh, entrepreneurship class or
Yeah,
whatever over there. And so for me, it's not, oh, I want to go run to the University of Houston and be a part of that. It's
yeah,
like, what can I learn from what they're
yeah.
doing and bring it here
Oh
and make
yeah.
this place special?
I agree with that. The most valuable thing that I do as a owner of an eye clinic is I'll visit other people's clinics.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have as much time these days to do it, but I've visited. Um, various mentors, clinics in different states, and you can see how they do things differently and bring that back here. So, yeah, I completely agree with that for sure. And yeah, University of Houston has a entirely new college of optometry since I graduated. So they've grown, yeah, for sure.
So one of the things that you've done in the community is the library. You're a musician. What instrument do you play?
Yeah, I'm a guitarist. Yeah, and I'm a singer. Yeah.
Okay. So how was library born, and what need did you see?
Yeah. So at the time, I was very heavily involved with the 705, and I believe that's how we met. The 705, kind of a group for young professionals to network and learn things and have fun together. Well, through that, I heard about the 24-Hour Citizen Project, which is a amazing event. If you haven't been to one, you really need to make it a point to go to one.
Yeah,
it's so unique,
awesome.
And it's so crazy that it happens in Lafayette. But my friend Butch Russell thought of the idea, and basically, it's like Shark Tank, but the pictures are, community ideas. Okay. And so, I went to one of their build up events, and literally earlier that day, I thought of what if we had a place where, instead of having to rent or buy an instrument, what if we could check it out, kind of like a library, see if we like it, and then if we don't, we can give it back and pick up another one. So that was kind of my idea, and it kind of grew through that process leading up to the event. And eventually we teamed up with the Acadiana Center for the Arts and the Lafayette Public Library, and now we offer about 30 different instruments you can check out, and you get it for a month. If you like it, awesome. You can go buy one if you want at a local company. If you don't, try a different one. And that way, because what I find is a lot of kids or a lot of parents will buy an instrument, and little Johnny may not, he may not have been meant to play trumpet. For me, it was trumpet. I played trumpet for 4 years and just put it down. I was like, nah,
I'm good.
Picked up guitar now, what I've been playing for 25 years now. So, so yeah, if there was just something like that we could offer for kids and parents, and so it's worked out really well. So,
is there anything else like it in the country?
Yeah. So what I found out over, researching and preparing for it, there are several musical instrument libraries around the country. But when I started it, I believe we're the first in Louisiana.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Awesome. So you say you play a guitar, and you're also part of a band, which is named...
Yep, Dr. C and the Gris Gris.
Okay. So how long have y'all been a band?
Let's see, probably a good 7-8 years now. Yeah. We're actually just started recording a new record. Hopefully we'll get that out late this year, early next year.
How many shows do y'all do, in the average year?
Yeah, we like to play one every, 6 weeks or so. Now, the past couple of years, post-COVID, it's been a little tougher to kind of get out there. But, we're ready to start playing some more. It's just a good outlet to have, you spend all the week just grinding and, managing, and then the weekend you just get to get up on stage and just be a different person. It's awesome, man.
So talking about the eyeglass industry, the music industry obviously has changed, over the years. And I was teaching a class yesterday, and we we're talking about subscriptions, how everything is a subscription, and nobody owns anything anymore. You know, do you have a music collection of physical media?
Yeah, I, growing up, I bought CDs. Like I would, count down the days to release day.
Mm-hmm.
Back then it was Tuesdays for
Yeah, it
some
was Tuesdays.
reason.
Yeah.
And I'd go to Circuit City and I
Mm-hmm.
get the new Rage Against the Machine.
Yeah.
But now, once in a while I'll get a vinyl record. I just appreciate, having something in my hands. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate also the artwork that accompanies the music because,
Yeah.
as a musician, you know, you can see that it's more than just singing a song.
Mm-hmm.
It's really a piece of art,
Yeah.
and so I like having
Mm-hmm.
a vinyl record. So
One thing I do wonder, what happened to movie soundtracks? Because
yeah,
I remember in the 90s, like
yeah,
a movie soundtrack
dude,
was like a
yeah,
new album coming out,
yeah,
like from like
man,
all the greatest artists and all of that.
yeah,
Now they just recycle old music from the 80s
yeah,
instead of original new things.
yeah, and that's kind of unfortunate with live music as well. You're
Mm-hmm.
gonna your cover bands are gonna get picked over the original bands. Not that cover bands are a good time, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't give a chance for new music to breathe,
Mm-hmm.
and how many times do I need to hear Journey when,
Mm-hmm.
I would love to find the newest, hottest band, but
Mm-hmm.
just not given that chance, unfortunately, but it is what it is,
Did you hear they had a concert at the Houston Rodeo and the lights went out in the middle of the set? The
Oh,
electricity went out, so they had to
I didn't hear
cancel the
about
show.
that.
So apparently, I mean, they had like 70,000 people there, so apparently they're still popular. So,
Okay.
so speaking of music, we have a lot. Austin bills itself as the live music fest capital of the world or whatever. We have a lot of music here in Lafayette. We have a lot of festivals. A lot of times they are free. And so when something is free, it's not really valued as much as the something that you pay for. So how can we get people to see a bigger value in not just music but art in general?
Yeah, I think we're pretty spoiled here.
Mm-hmm.
We have access to art, we have access to music, but I wish I knew the answer to that. You know, it's it's great that we're able to make things happen. Downtown Alive Festival
Mm-hmm.
International without any kind of cover charge, any kind of ticket. Um, but from my side of things, as long as the musician, the artists are getting paid. But
Mm-hmm.
I do think the harmful thing is that also leaks into other forms of art, so people may not feel they need to pay or they want to pay to watch theater, to
Mm-hmm.
go to an art gallery.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's tough. It's tough that we're, a little bit spoiled to that, but I don't know the answer to your question,
Yeah.
though.
I've been to a few plays at UL, that the students put on at Burke Hall. And I would much rather buy a ticket to a play than buy a ticket to a movie theater because it's more like it just feels more. I mean, I know they're acting on screen and all of that, but there's just something about being at a play and seeing people live on stage that is something different that you can't get from the movie theaters.
Oh, I agree with that for sure.
Yeah. So you got your eye clinic. Anything else you got going on up your sleeves?
Um, you know, um, Last year I kind of, I wouldn't say just last year, but um, I guess last year is when I really made the decision to kind of pivot how I practice.
Mm-hmm.
With the whole Luxottica, Warby Parker thing, like, you know, I, I'm not a huge on selling glasses.
Yeah.
I like caring for the eyes. I like treating eye disease.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I saw a huge need for helping people with what's called keratoconus. So keratoconus is a very common eye disease. It affects about 1 in every 400 people. So it's very common.
Wow.
It's where the cornea, it's misshapen, it's cone shaped. And, glasses sit in front of your eyes, right? So when light goes through your eyes, through your glasses, and then has to go through a misshapen cornea, these patients can't see well with glasses. No matter, what you do, they just can't see with glasses. And so I saw the need in this community. No one really specializes in, what we call specialty contact lenses. If you put a hard contact on these patients' eyes, it combines with either, the tears or a liquid reservoir you provide with the contact lens, and it creates sort of like a prosthetic cornea, and these patients can see very well with these type of contacts. It's just it's definitely something you have to practice and go to conferences and get some additional education on. So I've kind of dedicated the past few years to learning more about it. And last year we did a good 70-ish of these contacts to people leave seeing better than they have in their lives, and it's very rewarding. And it's gotten to a point where people are referring to me, other doctors refer to me for it. And then the other cool thing in optometry that's pretty new is what's called myopia management. So kids who develop nearsightedness, most kids develop it before age 9. We can slow it down. So the research has shown that the methods to slow down nearsightedness are 50% effective. So I don't know if you know what it means to be like a -3, but we can essentially, a kid who would end up being -3 as an adult, we can essentially treat them and end up just being a -1.5, which I'd love to be half, the nearsightedness I have, but that also prevents serious eye disease. Because nearsightedness results in a longer eyeball, which then results in eye disease, things from retinal detachments to glaucoma. And so it's a pretty cool developing field, and we've started practicing it at Scott Eye Care, and it's been cool to see, just in 13, 14 years of practice, how far and how much optometry and medicine in general has changed and over time. So there's always new stuff coming out, and gotta stay on top of it. So
So my question is, what did people do before eyeglasses were invented? Everybody just walk around blind?
Well, what we're finding, now is the eye is meant to focus far away. It's meant to just look here, like look up close here and there. But our whole entire world and careers are right here now. And so I think there wasn't a huge need for glasses, with our ancestors. But, as we started, reading, writing, eventually computers, glasses were necessary. But I'm sure there were people who couldn't see, back then. And I don't think they fared very well. You know what I mean?
Awesome. So I saw that you're doing something with one of my favorite newscasters here in Acadiana, who actually just got a new job at KLFY, Taylor Trichet. She's been a great supporter of us with Accelerate Northside and all the Accelerate programs, and allowing me to come on when she was at the former place. What you got going on with her?
Yeah, so, I always appreciate, fellow entrepreneurs. And she helped, during COVID. We talked about, she had me virtually on her newscast.
Yeah.
We talked about eye care. We talked about, the library. She's just super personable, so friendly. Well, when she was laid off, because a lot of media companies are shrinking their newscast. When she got laid off, a few weeks later, I reached out to her. I wanted to let her, process, that, because she did not expect that to happen. And she had this idea, I have this big social media following now that I've been a newscaster, and why don't I use that to be sort of a local influencer? And I was like, I have just the thing I would like you to talk about. And, I do what's called orthokeratology, which I've branded as overnight sight. And it's these special little contact retainers you wear at night.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, now after a couple weeks, when you wake up in the morning, you can see it slowly reshapes your cornea reversibly. Okay, so it's no surgery. And you can see throughout the day. It's very cool. And I'm having her actually try it, and she's gonna kind of document her experience with it. But yeah, she's in the perfect position to be like a local influencer with her big following. And I thought that was very entrepreneurial of her. And her and her husband are just the coolest people, man. And her husband's got me, working out again, so I kind of fell off with COVID. Her husband does personal training on the side. So they're great people, and I'm excited to work on this with her.
Awesome. So one last question. If you're, at home, 4th of July weekend, had a couple of, beverages, and you decide to go shoot off some fireworks, accidentally shoot one in your eye or something like that, should you go to the emergency room or should you contact an optometrist for an emergency evaluation?
Yeah.
At what point do we go to the emergency room? At what point do we call and say, hey, I need some help?
If anything ever happens with your eye, from, okay, you think you have pink eye to getting fireworks shot in your eye, you should always contact an eye doctor. Now, some offices, if you call, they'll have an after hours service. So, urgent cares in emergency rooms serve their purpose, but the eye is a very specialized organ, and you got to really know what you're doing to treat it and to get it better with whatever is happening with your eyes. So like I said, urgent care ERs have their place, but sadly I've seen some patients who went there first, and if they would have came say me first, I could have helped them, and their end result was a little worse off than if they had gone to an eye doctor. But part of that's our fault. I feel like we need to educate the public that really should see an eye doctor when something is going on with your eyes.
So you take medical insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. So you don't have to have vision insurance, vision plan to see an eye doctor. You can bill medical. You just have to have a medical problem. So in other words, you can't go there and say, I need new glasses. Can you bill my Blue Cross? No, if your eyes are itchy, that's medical. So you can absolutely.
I think that's a lot of things I didn't realize, and I don't think a lot of people realize, is that, I can go to an eye doctor for a medical emergency. It's not just like, this is going on with my eye. Well, I got to wait 8 months until my annual appointment.
Yeah. Oh, no.
To let them know. So it's more about education and letting people know that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the doctor is real. You can go see the doctor under your medical insurance. Awesome. So we're pretty much at time. Anything else you'd like to share?
Oh, not so much, man. That was fun. Wait, the audience has a question.
Oh, what's your question, sir?
Absolutely. I want to talk about I want to talk about rec specs, because I love glasses and basketball. Still wearing rec spec goggles? I don't see a lot of goggles
Is that the Horace Grants? Oh,
yeah,
man.
the Horace Grants. Oh man, yeah,
Sweat all over the place. Couldn't see anything.
yeah,
Eventually, I put the goggles on. It was great.
yeah.
I think I broke it.
So yeah, I played basketball with glasses. That didn't last very
Nope,
long.
nope.
Got elbowed. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, no, a lot of times, we're fitting kids with contact lenses now. There's daily contacts now,
Mhm.
so kids, they're not necessarily the most responsible. But some of them are. But with daily contacts, you put them in and you just throw them away at the end of the day. And so,
Mhm.
a lot of kids will just fit them in contacts. So we do some rec specs here and there, but mostly we're just going straight to contacts. Yeah. Good
So when you
question.
used to play basketball with glasses, and you got your glasses knocked off, did everybody stop what they were doing because the guy with the glasses got his glasses knocked off?
Well, I actually got a foul call.
I think that's an automatic foul if your glasses get knocked off.
I got the foul, so time stopped. I kind of bent
Make
my
sure.
glasses back and put them on, and
You
then
go through the free throw line.
we went get contacts after that.
Yeah. I've never been able to use contacts because
Yeah.
my eyes just don't stay open whenever I'm trying to put something in it.
Yeah,
And I blame that stupid air machine that shot 50 psi in my eyes when I was 5 years old or whatever. So awesome. Thank you so much for joining us,
man, that was
Ryan. It
fun.
was
Thank
great.
Absolutely.
So remember, Scott Eye Care, what's the address?
5511 Cameron Street, Scott 70583, right next to the Piggly Wiggly.
Yep. So go and get your Piggly Wiggly sushi and get your eyes checked and then learn how to fight at the jiu-jitsu place. Don't you have a Pizza Hut in there too?
There's a Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
there's
get
a
your
financial advisor.
Yeah, you can do everything
Yeah.
at the corner of Westgate and Cameron Street in Scott, Louisiana. Thank you, Ryan. Y'all have a great day. Thank you for joining us.